everyone, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my review on Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and I have a handful of things to say I'd like to think, so let's just kind of get into it. Well, actually, before I get into the video, I'm really sorry that my vlog went up really late the other day, and this video will also be going up the day later than it normally does because, vlog came out late, so we're just going to compensate. And my computer needs a breather. But thank you guys so much for the patience. I'm trying to slowly get back into vlogging. I doubt I'll ever do weekly vlogs, but I want to incorporate more vlogs into kind of my monthly video schedule. So that's an experiment. And if things are a little dodgy with that video, specifically that vlog, it's because I had edited that video at least a good 5 times before I hit export. And then iMovie didn't want to work, so I had to take it from iMovie to a completely different program, try to export that, and we had some issues, and here we are. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video and have enjoyed my thoughts on the Starless Sea. I will be doing a review in my wrap-up, so fret not if you felt like that portion is kind of going on. And if I keep looking behind you, or whatever, if the angle changes, it's because it's the vlog is exporting as I'm speaking, and I just want to make sure it doesn't my computer doesn't go to sleep and then kind of ruins the flow of the exporting. I don't know. But now we can get into the video. So for those of you guys who don't know, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston is I believe it falls under the new adult genre, a new adult contemporary romance following Alex, what's his full name? Claremont Diaz. Yes, Claremont Diaz. He is the first son of the United States. His mother is currently sitting president. And during this re-election year, he and his family go to the royal wedding in England, where he and the Prince Henry, Prince of Wales, or Prince of England, or however the title is, it's not like they don't get along, it's just that they're not bosom buddies. So when a drinking experience happens and it ends up ruining the royal wedding and it becomes this huge scandal, it becomes a publicity stunt for them to end up becoming, trying to make it look like they were just best of friends and it was just a prank gone wrong. And because of this, they end up falling in love, and it's very cute, it's very gay. Aside from that, I am going to throw out some trigger warnings here. I didn't realize there were trigger warnings going into this book. Not a ton though, and none that I will be talking about in great detail, so thank goodness for that. But I feel like these should have been mentioned from YouTubers, or YouTubers and other reviewers. So in case these are very triggering for you, this does include some homophobia, well actually a fair amount of homophobia. Someone is forced out of the closet, and then I believe we also have the implication of sexual abuse in forms of abuse of power, or have manifested through abuse of power throughout this kind of novel, or throughout some characters' backstories. But aside from that, like I said, some parts were major plot points of this book, but also some parts weren't as big, and like I said, just keep an eye out if that's something that will trigger you. Thankfully, it wasn't a big trigger for me, so I managed to get away with it, but some people aren't as lucky in that situation, so just be wary. Like I said, I wish it was talked about in other reviews, but it hasn't been, and I just wanted to put that out there. But I will not be talking about it in this review, and this review will be fairly spoiler-free. Yeah, actually it is pretty spoiler-free, so for those of you guys who haven't read it, you will now know that you can go ahead and keep on watching. So let's start off with things that I didn't like, since the list is fairly short, thank God. So for things I did not like, I feel like the beginning had a lot of setup. Yeah? Yeah. There was a lot of setup to a lot of different plot points, and while all the plot points were resolved and we did hit on them throughout the entire novel, I feel like by the beginning I was really wondering when the story was going to actually start, and then by the end we had kind of wrapped up the main love story portion, and we were wrapping up the rest of the plot points, which I feel like it should have been, I don't know, maybe the other way around, because most people pick up the novel for the sake of the love story and not so much the other political and very important aspects of this book. But I feel like it should have been switched, where we wrapped up every other side plot and then continued on with the main plot and wrapped that up. And literally by the end I was done with the love story portion, the climax of the love story, and then I was sitting here reading through, wondering when it was going to end, because it really did feel like it should have ended somewhere else instead of continuing. But it wasn't a big hindrance on my reading experience. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the love story. I did enjoy the ending and how everything wrapped up. I like that we got lots of conclusions with the certain character arcs, so I wasn't too upset about that. But like I said, I wish that the concluding parts were switched. Now, as for things I did like, and this list is not miles long, but it's fairly long. So I really did enjoy the humor of this novel. I didn't know what the humor was going to be like going into it. I did not expect it to be this way. It was, how do I put it? It was really vulgar, very dark, very dry humor, which I definitely enjoyed because that aligns a little bit more with how my humor does go. So I did enjoy that aspect, but I feel like the humor definitely isn't for everyone. So if you're expecting like, the cutesy kind of contemporary humor that most like young adult kind of novels are, this is very new adult, very vulgar. We have a lot of like drinking, and we have a lot of like inappropriate jokes, very inappropriate jokes, mind you. So if that is something you're not comfortable with, be wary. But I did enjoy the humor. I thought it was funny. I found myself laughing so many times throughout this novel. There was even a point where I laughed and I cried, which didn't make a lot of sense, but very few books can get me to do that, so take that as you will. The romance was absolutely adorable, and I loved the progression for them. It definitely, like, since we do follow Alex very closely, it is a very close third-person perspective. It definitely became that romance that snuck up on you. You didn't really expect it to happen, but like all of a sudden they were like, you knew they were in love, and like they were falling in love, and it was a romance that snuck up on you. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be a very like slow pace and very obvious. But then all of a sudden it hit you like a ton of bricks, and you're like, well, I'm not angry that it happened, but also like, when did that happen? But it wasn't in a bad way. We got to see a lot of their progression throughout like spans of texts and emails and like meetings. But the actual like romance itself did feel very like natural, and like it snuck up on you. So I was very okay with that. I felt like all the characters from Henry to Alex to all the minor characters, like his sister, his best friend, Henry's best friend, his mother, were all very fleshed out. They all were very complex. They had their own motives and their own values and their own characteristics. We didn't have to see them kind of get confused with one another. They were all very different from each other, and they stood on their own, and there was an interesting aspect about each of them that made them all stand out. It was nice to read about, is considering that it is a fairly large cast. I think for a standalone contemporary, you have a lot of names dropped pretty, like, not right away, but in a short amount of time, and they do become like major players without being major players in the novel, and it would be a recipe for you to just kind of be confused and wondering who is who. But it wasn't like that. You got to see all their different personalities and their different goals and like their aspirations and some of their backstories. So like I said, they were all different from each other, and I really enjoyed that, especially considering that this is a romantic comedy in a sense, so a lot of the comedic aspects could be easily lost in translation because of like all the characters, but that wasn't the case. Like I said before, the events in this book had me laughing a lot. It was just also so very fluffy, and I died a little with all the fluff that was going on. I also cried it wasn't like sobbing hysterically. It was a lot of like tearing up and like my heart hurting and like just knowing when things were going to happen and getting choked up, but it wasn't sobbing, thankfully. But I did laugh, and I cried, and I laughed and I cried at the same time, which was really weird for me because I don't think that has ever happened, where I'm like reading a sad part in a book, and somehow the comedic aspects still come in and you're laughing while you're also crying. But I enjoyed it because it was a nice break from all the angst and the drama and like the emotions that I wasn't prepared for. I don't know, everyone loves Alex, and I adore Alex. I love him with all my heart, and I want to protect the little bean, but I think it's just because Henry's humor aligns a little bit closer with mine that I feel like I just love Henry, Prince of Wales. I adore him. I think his wonderful little accent and his humor and like, but we were ever so careful, dear, is just like my kind of humor and my kind of guy, but he's gay, so he can't be my guy, but it won't stop me from having a crush on him, which is really unfortunate in my life here, but I adore him. I want to protect him with all my heart. I think he's a wonderful character, and he's so precious without being precious, because he's like also low-key kinky. Also, this book does get smutty, but not, oh, did I write that down? He's like low-key kinky, but I'm okay with it. So, like, Homeboy's prepared for every situation that he could possibly like have sex in. So I'm like, I gotta admire Mr. Princey for that. And segueing into the smut aspect of this novel, I was kind of concerned primarily because I feel like with some smut, especially since this is a debut, I believe, the smut could have been very, 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 very like in-depth and like overdone, because like I said, smut, like you either get nice amount of smut, or you get like the really awkward smut, or you get the really bad smut. There's like, or like the really in-depth smut. There's like no in between, and I feel like this one did really well in terms of like not so much explaining which body part went where, but in terms of like the feelings and the emotions and like the climactic moments, and really focusing more so on like the, not the technical aspects. I need to, why am I making this motion? I'm thinking of like Midsummer, if you guys have seen that scene. But not so much the technical aspects, but more so like the feeling, the emotions, and things that are being said throughout, which I felt like it was a very nice way to write smut without fetishizing the fact that these are two boys having sex. Overall, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I think that this is a wonderful humorous book, as well as just amazing things, and I can't wait to see what Casey comes up with in the future. I think they are a wonderful writer, and their humor is just mwah. Highly recommend it. However, like I said, there are trigger warnings, so just be wary. They're not huge, and they're not like prevalent aspects, but they do come up throughout the novel, and it is like it just comes up. So I guess another thing I would have to say with the ending is that it did feel like a little bit too much like wrapped in a neat little bow, and even with the one little bit that was like negative in terms of the ending, it did still feel like it was wrapped up perfectly and we got a perfectly happy ending. But also I feel like that trope is overdone in terms of like the straight romances in literature and not so much the queer aspect of that. So I'm not angry at all that that part happened, because it was, I think you can't overdo a trope until literally every sexuality and ethnicity has had the chance to do that trope. So in terms of like heterosexual, yes, that trope is overdone, but I'm okay with it being done in this novel. So highly recommend, and I hope you guys pick it up. But that is it for my review of Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did have quite a bit to say, so hopefully it all came out fairly okay. So if you guys want more of my thoughts, feel free to message me. All my social medias will be down below. And then if you guys like these videos, hit like. I do like doing reviews every like month, but sometimes I don't always have the chance to. And if I don't get like if no book comes up to me and seems intriguing enough to do it, I rely on comments telling me which book to review. So just let me know in the comments, and what other books you guys want me to review. I think for right now my reviews are capped for the month of November, but December, when I announce my TBR, I have 2 of them going up, one for Queer Lit and one for my general December TBR. Let me know and I will do a review on those books. But until next time, subscribe. I upload twice a week, sometimes 3 if we have technical difficulties, and then I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!